Thank you, Mr Chairman, and it's a pleasure to follow the Honourable Member for Strangford. I congratulate him on calling this important debate today, for his thoughtful introductory comments, and of course it's great to see such a cross-party representation here today on this matter. Now, as a Vice Chair of the Obesity APPG and a practising GP, I'm only too aware of the significant health and financial implications of obesity. And during the course of this year, a realisation of the link between obesity, its comorbidities, and poor Covid-19 outcomes has sparked a renewed interest in tackling Britain's obesity crisis. 19.8% of critically ill Covid patients are morbidly obese, which is almost 3 times the national average, which stands at 2.9%. And for those who are overweight or obese, the likelihood of dying from this virus is 37% higher than average. Now, there are, of course, numerous international league tables which rank Covid impact on countries, and many have suggested that the UK's unenviable position in these tables is at least in part due to the fact that the number of overweight or obese individuals in the UK stands as high as 67%. Of course, obesity is frequently an outcome of poor life chances, but it can also perpetuate them. The economic impact of obesity cripples some of our communities, and tackling it is therefore a matter of social justice. Obesity rates among the most deprived 10% of the population are more than twice that of the least deprived 10%, and the gap in prevalence of obesity between rich and poor is tragically still growing. And my constituency in many ways epitomises the national picture. I can travel from one area, a pocket of coastal deprivation and the poorest ward in Wales, where obesity and poor health goes hand in hand with economic inactivity and high premature death rates, to another area just several miles away, where the average body mass index is markedly lower and life expectancy and income levels are significantly higher. And for me, this inequality within a single constituency is unacceptable. So reducing obesity levels, Mr Chairman, is not only vital as we seek to minimise the impact of the pandemic, but it should also be considered a critical element of the Prime Minister's levelling up agenda, something I fear will become even more important in the aftermath of the pandemic. Now, the harsh truth is that obesity is strongly associated with a number of serious health conditions, including many leading causes of death. It's also associated with poorer mental health outcomes and reduced quality of life. Being overweight can exert a tough emotional toll, from bullying at school to the pain of lifelong judgmental attitudes and stigma. Obesity also saddles the NHS with an annual bill of several £billion a year, and its overall cost to wider society is estimated to be £27 billion a year. As a GP, any day's work reinforces to me that we live within a society where, for some, freedom to make the right choices is severely constrained, with supermarkets packed with temptingly priced high-fat sugar and salt, that's HFSS products, takeaways on every street corner, bountiful coffee shops serving syrup-laden flavoured drinks, pubs and bars offering large 200-calorie-plus glasses of wine, and a culture which normalises these things on a day-to-day basis. It's far too easy for all of us to consume more calories than our sedentary lifestyles can withstand. And while some may navigate this environment unscathed, making healthy choices has become increasingly difficult, and more so in poorer communities. Whether we're under enormous stresses and strains from other aspects of our life, or fighting to feed a family on a tight budget and within limited time, the long-term health outcomes of what we eat and drink may not always be our top concern. For me, the measures we need to implement are not about taking away choice, but about the government helping to rebalance the playing field in favour of healthier options for the benefit of all. And so in July of this year, the government published a new strategy entitled Tackling Obesity, Empowering Adults and Children to Live Healthier Lives. This committed the government to do a number of things, to introduce a new campaign to encourage all those who are overweight to take action with evidence-based tools and apps. We shouldn't forget, of course, the huge impact of exercise and dietary advice. And my experience is that there's often very poor understanding of what is healthy. It committed the government to expand weight management services via the NHS, to consult over improving the traffic light system on food labelling, to legislate to require large restaurants, cafes, and takeaways to add calorie labelling to the food they sell, and potentially smaller outlets too over time, to consult over calorie labelling on alcohol, to legislate to end the promotion of HFSS foods through product placement, so at the end of aisles and supermarkets and online too, and to get rid of buy one, get one free offers where it relates to unhealthy food. And finally, to ban the advertising of these same products online and before 9 p.m. on the television. And these proposed measures follow on from apparent success through reformulation and the soft drinks industry levy, which has reduced the sugar consumed from soft drinks. I've been pleased to join many others in pushing for measures such as these in my time on the Health Select Committee, particularly as part of the Childhood Obesity Strategy. And obesity in children at reception age currently stands at 9.9%, and at year 6 has now reached 21%, with a continually worsening picture year on year. We know that children with obesity are more likely to develop complications and disability at a younger age later in life. With that in mind, I'd argue that we need to consider going beyond even some of the measures in the government strategy. And if we look at the world through the eyes of children, I feel we need to attempt cross-governmental issues such as the location and quantity of fast food outlets. I'd be pleased to hear from the Minister of her perspective on this. I'd also ask the Minister when a timeline might emerge for the implementation of the remainder of the government's obesity strategy. Further, how does it intend to ensure that support is available right across the country and includes those with severe and complex obesity where diet and exercise alone is insufficient? As a GP, one of my principal asks would be how and when will weight management services and indeed bariatric surgery become more accessible? In the immediate future, how does the government intend to ensure that those living with obesity are some of the first to receive Covid-19 vaccines that we've heard so much about in the last day or so? And looking to the longer term, how does it intend to ensure that tackling health inequalities through the levelling up agenda proceeds despite the huge financial impact of the pandemic? To conclude, Mr Chairman, the Prime Minister's obesity strategy announcement in June created welcome attention and dialogue, which has been continued through an APPG inquiry, this debate, and now likely government action. But it's vital that we keep up the momentum, especially given that the COVID-19 pandemic is sadly still very much with us. Thank you.
Andrew Salute.